Welcome, everyone, back to the Lost Word podcast. As always, I'm Jay, and we have Rabbit here. And we're ready to talk again. I first want to thank everyone for all the positive feedback so far with all these podcasts. Thank you to our friends who have been listening as well. That means a lot. And remember to follow us on social media, keep up to date, and let's get into it. What are we talking about today?
I think today we're going to talk about some relationship stuff and what it means for us as individuals, not so much the other people that were involved in the relationships. First, though, I do want to say something. I had a very angry relative come to me about something that I had said in, our first podcast. And, we're not doing this to hurt people. We're not doing this to make other people feel bad or wrong. We're trying to tell our story. We're trying to tell our truth or our side of the story, our point of view and our opinions. And I just want to make that clear that, if you accidentally hear a name, if you hear a situation that, like, oh, hey, that's about me, we're not doing it to hurt you. We're not doing it to make you feel bad. This is just, our point of view, our thoughts. We're not trying to hurt anybody with this. We're just trying to share our story. Well, I'm going to jump into it and my discussion, I guess, for today. So, since I've been working, so closely with my therapist and doing tasks myself, I recently read a book a few months ago, and it gives you a lot of like writing exercises and a lot of things that you can do to help some of the things you can't make sense of. And this wasn't particularly one that I read in that book, but it gave me the idea. And I wanted to write down my flaws, and more specifically my flaws that contributed to, my breakup, but also, past relationships, current relationships, and what I kind of don't want to bring into my future, my future relationships. And so I guess I'll kind of read the list and then, talk about, how each one has affected me over the years. But so my list goes like this. My flaws are I'm impatient. I'm quick to get angry. I can be impulsive, very emotional, stubborn, really stubborn. I'm putting controlling, and of course, like, we can talk about that because there's kind of a more specific thing to controlling than just being controlling. So I'll describe that. I can be very self-destructive, like add up like all of these things in one place, and I can be very self-destructive and unable to let things go and unable to take advice. So being impatient, when I want something to happen, or like when I want to do something, usually it's immediately, like I want to do it as soon as, I think about it, as soon as it happens. I used to be very impatient as a child. Like I wanted to go, I wanted to do it. If someone said, promise me something, like I wanted to do it. And I don't know, like it causes a lot of, I guess, annoyance to me.
What's annoying? That you can't do it?
Yeah, that I can't do it just, right then and there, or having to sit around and wait. And I've kind of had a lot of that recently in these kind of weird emotional moments for me, where it's just like, I feel weird and it gets annoying. You
feel weird, meaning what?
I don't know, like restless about it. Impatient about something that I don't even know I'm impatient about. Or wanting to, like I said, just wanting to do something.
So to really is it more of this just underlying feeling of like antsiness, anxiousness, impatience, but not for a specific thing.
Not for a specific thing, but I mean, I feel like I've had a lot over the years of both, of it being over like a situation and then not over a situation.
Nothing happening at all, but you still feel it.
Yeah. Anger, I don't think I really talk about my anger so much. And, for people that are close to me, I'd say mostly friends on my side, they know how angry that I can get. You know how angry I can be. But I don't think other people out there really know how angry I am. And this started, when I was a child. I'd get so pissed off so quickly. I don't know where that comes from, and this is probably something I need to bring up in therapy, of how angry I am. And I always just thought, like, maybe it was, teenage angst or something.
You felt it since you were a child.
Yeah.
So what did you think it was then? Or did you not really think about it as a
I
kid?
didn't think about it when I was a kid. I just knew I was angry. I just knew I was kind of pissed off. Or things would happen and I would get angry. And I know in past relationships, getting angry was kind of just like the norm.
And is it always an underlying anger, or is there something that triggers it and then it's anger?
Usually, especially in my relationships, it's something that's triggered. It's something that they would do that would just like fill me with this rage, this like kind of uncontrollable rage that sometimes like I won't let out, or it'll kind of come out in some of the ways that I described here in my list, of being self-destructive, or that'll turn into being impulsive or emotional. So I don't know. I don't talk about anger that much, but I know when things happen, like the, relative who decided to text me almost incessantly about the podcast and what I had said in it, I couldn't sit still. I was so mad and I was so pissed, and there's so much other like feelings in it, and I couldn't get a grip on it. And like I said, I was angry, I was pissed off, I didn't know what to do. You and I, we went outside for a bit. We stood on the porch. We kind of talked it through, and I found myself feeling better. But then, this person would text me again the next day and bring up a different topic about what I had said and why it makes them so angry, or why they're so upset with me. And it was hard. It was hard to deal with, and it was hard to kind of like come down from that and try to be like not angry about it.
In a relationship, what was something that would make you angry or trigger that anger?
Well, in relationships, I mean, it would usually come from something that they did. Not just something random that they did, but usually what I felt was so personal to me. Like I'm trying to think of specific examples, and mostly I can only like think about Kenneth's right now, but the things that would make me angry is, if he had brought a subject up to me, hey, like, babe, I want to go do this, or I want to take a loan out at a bank or something. And we would talk about it, and I would be like, well, that just doesn't sound like a good idea. You need to save money, make a plan, make a budget. Make a budget for yourself of how much you know you're going to spend on bills, how much you're going to spend on rent, and then write out a budget for, food and other expenses. And then the next day or so, he's like, okay, so I gotta tell you something, and I know it's gonna make you mad. And he would tell me that, like, so I took out a loan at a bank. And just like, again, like I could feel it, and I remember just being so pissed, just like we talked about it. I remember talking about it, and maybe not this specific situation, this is just what I'm kind of recalling. But it's like we talked about it. And I'd feel so pissed off. I feel so hurt, just like by him not listening to me, or not, like, kind of like me feeling like my opinion about, what he brought to me wasn't valued.
Right.
So more situations like that in my relationships that, would really make me angry. Like, I don't know if I can even, describe it. And, sometimes, like, when I feel like that, sometimes it'll go away kind of quickly. I'll be able to bring it down and come back to a rational, thought process about it. But sometimes it doesn't always happen so quickly, and sometimes it takes a while. Being impulsive kind of comes with both those. Like, it's weird how each one of these flaws, I guess, kind of connects to the other one.
They often do.
They do. But being impulsive, I mean, like I said, I used to be really impulsive, kind of about, getting tattoos or getting piercings. And this is one that I had to be careful with when I was a teenager, because I always wanted to do these things. So when I was a teenager, if I had the money, I would definitely try to get something pierced without talking about it with my parents, or, well, with my mom. I wouldn't talk to her about it, and I would just like go get it done with a friend, or I'd have a friend do it. And thankfully, you can't get tattooed in Wisconsin until you're 18, so that kind of helped. But even now, every once in a while, if I kind of feel like impatient, or if I feel angry, it's like, okay, well, I want to kind of go and be a rebel, so I want to kind of go and get a tattoo. But I know if I did that, I'd probably be getting tattoos just like once a month, and they cost a lot of money, they take a lot of time, and you don't go to a reputable shop, you're kind of at risk for not good things to happen to you. So I also kind of feel the impulsiveness with spending. We've had to make budgets more than once to kind of, so we can save money.
To curb the spending.
Yeah. Or, I had to tell myself, like, all right, you spend money on this, you can't spend money on that. Or, well, if you buy this now, like, you can't buy something later. Or we have to, you have to cut down, like, one of your reoccurring, like, payments. Or we have to move it around. All these things, a lot of these things have gotten better over the years. They've gotten considerably better, but I can see how, being impulsive now is still something that, like, I have to work on, and I still feel that every once in a while, just wanting to, like, get up and go drive somewhere, but it's like, no, you have to clean. You have to take care of stuff here, or there's nothing to do. There's no reason why we should go out. And I know you felt this before with me, where, like, I wake up and it's like, huh, you want to go to El Paso? I was like, why? Like, I don't know. We can go to the thrift store. We can go here. We can go do this. I'm like, no, this is my only day off. Like, I just want to spend it here. Like, I just want to, like, watch movies and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but I want to go out. Like, I want to do something. And then eventually, like, being able to work through it, and and not have to go out to feel okay.
And that impulsiveness, is it, like, what drives that? What is that? Is it is there a feeling behind it? Is there what's behind that?
I'm not sure when it comes to impulsiveness. All I know is that sometimes I can wake up and feel it. Sometimes it happens, after, like, one of these, situations, or, after I'm done being angry. It's like, I want to change or something. I want to do something different, or I want to do something we haven't done in a long time. And that's usually, I don't know where it comes from, but that's usually just how it feels. And I think it is more specific after something like, what happened with this family person. Like, I really wanted, I don't know, I wanted to get out, I wanted to do something, I couldn't sit still, I didn't want to sit still, and yeah.
Is not wanting to sit still or wanting to do something, wanting to get out, is that a way of avoiding the feeling?
No, I don't think I avoid it. And I think that was really true, when I started getting these texts from this family person, that I couldn't avoid it. And I tried to, I kind of tried to, like, play it down about how I felt about it. You and I were talking about it, and, I never told you how much, like, it had hurt me, not at the time. I didn't tell you how much, I was hurting and how bad I felt about it, and how bad this person was making me feel, and how it kind of reverted just right back to when I was a teenager. And I guess in that sense, like, maybe, like, some of that kind of, like, came up, and then that made me impulsive. Because, once we talked about it, and once we fully talked about it, it felt a lot better. And I didn't feel so impulsive about it. And it's like, okay, this is fine. Like, we got this. Being emotional. And then, I guess, like, you can say, like, well, all of these are emotions, or all of these are things people feel. But for me, I guess emotional is more on the sad side of things. I cry. Well, lately I've been crying quite a bit, but even when I was younger, I used to get so hurt so easy by things that people would say, or watching a sad movie. Like, my dad used to call my mom and I crybabies all the time, because we would watch a sad movie, and a dog would die, and me and my mom would just like be like bawling our eyes out or something. And that was true going on into being a teenager. I would cry a lot, and like I said, I still do. I still cry quite a bit at sad movies. We watch a sad video on YouTube, and I think of something in the past, not so much recently, but specifically, with Kenneth and the breakup, and it'll bring me to tears.
Would sensitive be a better way to describe it, as
maybe
opposed to
sensitive,
emotional? Or even empathetic, where, like, you feel it. Mm-hmm. So when you're watching that sad movie, you feel that sadness. You can relate to it. It's right there with you. Yeah. Whether it happened yesterday, or it's fictional, or it happened right in that moment, you feel it just the same.
Yeah, maybe sensitive is a better word, but I say emotional just because, like, it can feel like a lot of different things. Right. Kind of at once. It's not, maybe sensitive, but it's kind of a lot of different things at once. Mm-hmm. And I'd say both. I'd say it's being emotional and it's being sensitive. And I felt this, I feel this in, past relationships. I felt a lot like this with Kenneth. And some of the things that were said, or some of the things that would happen, I would bawl my eyes out. And, at first, Kenneth was really, like, understanding, and he'd try to, just support me when I'm getting upset. But eventually, over the course of the relationship, especially, like, at the end, me crying was no longer, like, understandable to him. Like, he stopped becoming caring.
It wasn't a sign to, like, stop, or, like, slow down, or wait, like, oh wait, maybe I should redirect this, or what I mean?
It would make it worse.
He would get angrier with you?
Yeah, like, well, no,
say
like,
worse things?
Oh, sorry, I didn't understand what you're asking.
No, I meant that you crying for him was not a sign for him to stop what he's doing, or maybe rethink what he's saying.
Right.
It was...
Yeah, okay. Exactly. He'd get more annoyed. He'd be less understanding, less patient, and just more pissed off.
So instead of seeing someone crying and thinking, did I do this, or how am I affecting this? He would see someone crying and say, like, what's wrong with this person? Like, why are you crying?
Yeah.
Well,
in the beginning of our relationship, he was very understanding. He's like, no, babe, don't cry. Like, I'm sorry. Okay, let's forget about this. This doesn't matter. I'm sorry. Because, like I said, I'm a sensitive person. Damn it, I'm crying now. I'm a sensitive person, and I'm a sensitive person. That's just who I am. And my therapist is working with me to, she always says, like, I have a big heart. Like, I have a really big and kind and compassionate heart for just about every creature in this world. Unfortunately, kind of. And Like I said, at first, Kenneth used to be very understanding. He used to, I think that's one of the reasons why he loved me, is because I was so sensitive sometimes, that I cared so much about, the people around me, the creatures around me, the planet, the world. And I kind of came to find out very quickly that he wasn't like that. He had little to no empathy for people that weren't in his direct circle. He didn't, he cares, but he doesn't care. And it was so strange. And I know, like, a lot of people, like, sometimes they don't care. Or sometimes, like, well, it's like, if this doesn't directly affect me, then I don't really have to worry about it. And for me, like, everything worries me. And I care about the human beings that certain tragedies happen to. I cried my eyes out, every time there's a hurricane and we, see people trapped in their homes, or being rescued, or, dogs in shelters that are being left behind. Like, that tears my heart out. For Kenneth, it wasn't really like that. So seeing me cry, I don't know, like, over and over again over little things, I guess was just an annoyance to him eventually. And he stopped being kind. And I don't remember, like, the exact, like, moment he stopped being kind, but I know it happened a little later on in our relationship, maybe just before the middle of it. He stopped becoming kind, and he stopped becoming understanding. To why I'm so sensitive. And yeah, that still hurts. That sucks. Because this is who I am. You've definitely experienced it, where just, certain things bring me to tears.
Yeah. I think in general, in relationships, and a lot of times with, like, guys and girls, but it doesn't matter necessarily, that being with someone so sensitive or so empathetic, when you see them upset and you see them hurt or they're crying, your automatic reaction is you want to fix it, and it's upsetting when you can't, or when I didn't do anything wrong, what's going on, or it's something that's completely out of our lives, but you're still hurting from it. And the automatic reaction is you want to fix it. But what I've learned from it is you just have to be patient with it, and you just have to be there, essentially. I have to let you feel it and express it, and just essentially just be like, yeah, that sucks, and just pat you on the back and be like, yeah, it sucks, and just leave it at that, because it can't be fixed, and it's not necessarily something that needs to be fixed. You just have to be there.
Right. And that's one thing in our relationship that, I kind of had to not teach you, but we had to learn together, because sometimes there is no fixing any of this. Just let me feel it, be there for me, and tell me, yeah, babe, that sucks. And then just talk nice, just be nice in that moment, and we get through it. And that's one thing that worked in the beginning of mine and Kenneth's relationship. It's just him being able to be kind, trying to be understanding, and just say, yeah, babe, that sucks, I'm sorry. Let me cry it out. And then usually within minutes, I bounce back from it. I'm like, okay, like, yeah, that makes sense. All right. So what do you want to do now? And that works. That works for us. And that works with a person who is so overly sensitive. I think, stubborn for me is kind of self-explanatory. But for people who don't know, if I don't want to do something, just no.
Or if you want to do something.
Or if I want to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to work my ass off to do it. But another thing, too, it's like, a lot of my, some of my opinions, I guess you could say kind of closed-minded, which almost doesn't sound like me either. But certain situations and certain things, it's just like, no. Like, nope, that's no good. Like, I'm not doing that. Or if someone, of authority kind of comes to me and wants me to do something and said, so this is how you're going to do it. This is how you have to do it. Just, no, I'm not doing it your way. Like, and now I'm not going to do it just because you told me to.
Yeah.
And I think that came out a lot with your parents and them trying to get me to get my license. And I remember like a conversation with your mom, and I'll never forget it. And I was so mad at the time, and so like, I don't know the word, but like what would what would the word be? Describe your mom for me. Invasive?
I guess.
Like, there's another word I'm trying to think of, but like I can't right now. Nagging, that's a good description.
Persistent.
All good words, but not what I'm thinking of. Like,
just continue.
She puts herself in your life, and invasive. But I guess she had went to the, what is it, MVD for New Mexico? That's what it's called. Mm-hmm. She had went there to get her own license, like renewed or something, and she came back with like just a million papers and information for me, and she took me into the living room and she's like, all right, Rachel, so let's sit down and we're gonna figure out how to get your license in, and I believe it was like January. Mm-hmm. We're gonna get you your license by April. Mm-hmm. And I was just looking at her and I was just like, I don't want to do that, no thank you. And she started like going over like this list of like what you need, like, okay, so you need proof of identity, you need a bill in your name, you need all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, okay, well, I can't do that because I can't rent a place.
Bill in my name.
Yeah. Like, what are you gonna do? Put your,
like, I'm 23.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not even 23. Now, I'm not even 23, babe. I'm 20.
Right. I'm technically right now living with you. Like,
yeah. Yeah. And I just remember looking at her, and I didn't say it, but I was just like, no. Because you're sitting down telling me what I have to do and do it your way just makes me want to not do it at all. Mm-hmm. And the more and more your mom persisted, and this is over the course of years up until literally almost this point, every time your mom brought it up, every time your parents brought it up, like, oh, you need to learn how to drive, or you need your driver's license, like every time they had that conversation, I said no. It's like, no, because you're having this conversation with me, absolutely not. If you're gonna keep bothering me about it, it's gonna take me even longer to want to do it. It needs to be on my terms, and it needs to be at my own pace. And no one should absolutely rush me into this, and you are. So no. And that's a lot of like how it would go with just about anything.
Is there a difference between a stubbornness like that versus stubbornness in a relationship?
In a relationship, I would actually, I think I would say no. So, because I think it would be the same if, you or, at the time Kenneth had came to me with something similar and be like, we can talk about this. You can bring this to me and we can actually talk about it. But if you're going to come to me and tell me, like, okay, this is the way it's going to be, this is what you have to do, and you're going to do it my way, no. And I think, like, a lot of it was, like I said, Kenneth coming to me with situations and telling me, like, well, this is what happened, this is what, not doing it his way, but this is what's going to happen, and there's nothing you can do.
This is what happened. This is what's going to happen, and you have to be okay with it.
Yeah, you have to be 100% okay with it, having no opinions of your own.
Right.
And that would, of course, like, start this whole cycle again of being angry, impatient, being sensitive about it, being emotional about it. And then, I would become stubborn, and I'd become like, no. Like, we should talk about this. We should have a conversation, and we should both try to come to a resolution about it. And then that would, that would make me stubborn and be like, no, if you're not going to listen to me, if you're not going to take my opinion, then just no. And that would become stubborn. And, me not wanting to change my point of view about it, Kenneth not wanting to change his, or, any other person in my life not wanting to have that conversation with me and have that dialogue, would just automatically turn into anything but a shield and no. That's really how I'm stubborn.
When that happens, the shield, as you put it, and the no, is that a good thing?
No, and I've definitely wanted to change that, and be less stubborn, because a lot of this other stuff, like I'm gonna talk about here in a minute, it all kind of connects to one another. They can all be very similar and blur into the other one, because like I said, I put controlling down here because it's not me wanting to necessarily be controlling over another person or their life. For me, it's situations that come up that I have no opinion in, that I have no say in, or there's no way that I can help another person. There's no way I can help Kenneth in this situation. Or sometimes, like, he wouldn't let me help him. When I feel hopeless and helpless and, there's nothing that I can do. So I don't know if I would call that controlling. But there's just, I guess, control isn't a bad word. And some people don't understand this. Control isn't a bad word. And when you feel like you have no control over, situations, you have no control over yourself, it can be a really, like, hopeless and helpless feeling.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between manipulative control, controlling people, doing certain things or saying certain things to get your way, or something that's a good outcome for yourself.
Yeah.
There's a difference between that and a lack of control, of being in situations and not being able to do anything about them.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, for anyone that can feel like helpless, hopeless, and it can be very angering.
Yeah. So, I mean, you get all of this stuff, controlling, stubborn, emotional, impulsive, angry and impatient. At the end of it, I can kind of become self-destructive. And, I, of course, know a lot about this, from when I was a teenager, because whenever I felt any of these or all of these at once, or even just one or two, I wanted to do something to directly harm myself. And that was through, things like self-harm, so directly hurting myself, or in indirect ways that, it's still harming yourself, but, it's not actually cutting yourself. I used to drink quite a bit when I was a teenager, and I used to hang out with people that would want to get high and drink all the time. And yeah, I would go out every weekend and we would drink, and I would get really, really drunk, and in turn, it's like I'm being self-destructive. I'm ensuring my own self-destruction, by getting really drunk and hanging out with these people who want to drink more and want to keep getting high, and then go out and do some really stupid things. So I felt this kind of a lot, like I said, with my family member, texting me over and over again about the ways that they're disappointed in me and that they're upset with me. I had a situation with a person that I'm still talking to, and that made me feel really horrible. And then, of course, like, going through my breakup, when a lot of, like I said, a lot of things happen at once, like, I want to drink again. And actually, I haven't drank, and especially, like, I guess binge drink, in a long time. And we've had a few drinks, we've hung out with some friends and be able to just have one or two drinks and it be fine. But that's one of my first things that I want to do, is I'll want to eat a ton of sweets and drink a lot,
right.
Or get high. And one thing that it'll never go away, and it's actually, it's kind of been proven, is once you do self-harm, and I used to cut myself, that impulse will always be there. That'll always be your go-to thing. The only thing you can do is learn different ways to cope. So whenever I do get upset, whenever I do get emotional, that's the first thing that pops into my head. And to not do that takes so much strength every time it happens. And that's not going to change. And that's so weird because I haven't done it in 10 years. So when you and I met, and that impulse is still there. It still happens. Mm-hmm. So every time I get pissed off, every time I get angry or sensitive and emotional, that's usually what I'm thinking of. Like, no matter what. And there's other ways that I can, be self-destructive. I want to...
I feel like...
In a bad way.
I feel like most things can be self-destructive depending on why you're doing them. Like, there's a difference between drinking because you're happy and you're with friends and you want to have fun, which we can do, which we do, versus drinking because you feel bad and you want to hurt yourself, or you don't want to feel something or something like that. And most things can be self-destructive, whatever they are.
Yeah.
It depends,
anything. And it really depends on you.
Almost anything. Like, if you're doing something from a bad place, from a place of anger or sadness or whatever it is, it can be self-destructive. Food, spending, sex, alcohol, whatever it is, it can be self-destructive.
Yeah. And it really depends, on why you're doing it. And for me, a big thing is not doing it when I feel like that.
Yeah. I think that's a key for every single person everywhere.
Yeah. So, but that's usually like a go-to feeling after all of these things have combined, or, I feel one or two of these things is, I want to do something stupid, and I want to do something that could possibly harm me. Yeah. And it's a hard thing to overcome. It's a hard thing to deal with and not do. I'm thankful for the moments where I can, get over it easy, or I can talk it out, with you, with my other friends, and that not be what I'm thinking of that day. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's really no avoiding that feeling. I haven't actually done anything like that in a long time. So, I know I'm getting healthier, and I know I'm getting better. I wish I didn't feel like that sometimes, though. Yeah, and I wish I didn't even have to talk about it to, I guess, not feel like that. So.
I think in this case, it's a good thing you're talking about it, though.
I think so. It's been a really hard conversation.
Yes. There's guaranteed to be someone out there who's feeling the same way. And so it's good that now you're talking about it. Mm.
So the last thing here for me on my list is unable to let things go. And again, this has just been a reoccurring thing, is when arguments happen or when I'm hurt. And when I'm really hurt, it's hard not to want to bring that up again. It's hard to not want to have another conversation about that for the 100th time. Yeah, it's very hard to let something go, especially if it feels unsolved to me. And I've really been learning to do that recently. That's kind of, in a weird way, that's kind of something new that I've been trying to work on. Sometimes, in a weird way, if it doesn't serve me, then I don't need to hold on to it anymore. And that goes with, fights, that goes with feelings, sometimes material objects. If this doesn't serve me, I don't need to hold on to it. If I'm still growing from it, if I'm still learning from it, then yes, of course, hold on to it. But if there's nothing that I can gain from it in a good way, then there's no reason to keep it. There's no reason to keep it around. But being unable to let go for so long, it's hard to do. It's hard to learn in a few months. And just trying to practice that, a little bit, every day is hard.
Yeah. I think in some way that not being able to let go of certain things or people can be in its own way a form of self-harm or self-destruction. When you start caring about yourself, you start to be able to set boundaries for yourself. And you can, keep people away who may not be good for you. Or you can keep things away in your life that aren't good for you or serving you in a positive way. And you can see that and you can do that because you care about yourself and your health and your outcome. But when you don't, or you think that in some way you don't matter, or that whatever the thought is, you allow those things to continue or those people to stay because in some way you don't care about yourself.
Right. I mean, I used to think about that a lot, I have a really good opinion about myself, and I have no self-loathing, and I know there's people out there who do, and you've had your own, moments of self-doubt. I don't have a lot of those, or at least I didn't think I did. And kind of realizing that, hey, I do still have some thoughts like that, it's kind of a really hard realization.
Does the not letting go come, in that case, does the not letting go come from somewhere else?
Fear.
Of?
The unknown. The unknown, or being unable to control a situation or have self-control. I know that I used to hang on to things because I was scared that, or people. I used to hold on to people because I was scared that they're going to leave and that this is the only person that I have, or this is the only thing that I have. And so terrified that that's just going to leave forever. And it's not going to.
So would you rather have had, in that case, a bad relationship, and not lose it than not have a relationship at all?
Well, I think that was kind of part of me and Kenneth, is holding on to it for so long, or, holding on to some of the bad stuff for so long that, it made it a bad relationship. And no, I wouldn't have wanted to keep holding on to that. Having, been through all of this now, or having known this now, I would have let go of a lot more. I may have let go of the relationship a lot earlier. Kenneth and I have broken up, we broke up once more for real. We didn't talk for 3 weeks. We got back together. We broke up once more. We got back together like a couple days later. We were still together. We took some time apart. Maybe one of those times should have been the last time. And I should have worked on this then. I should have realized some of these things then and let go of them a lot sooner, or let go of the relationship entirely. But I'm also not a person, and I think this is kind of like, this ties into it, where I don't want to give up on people. I don't want to give up on people I care about and people that I love. That's not me. Again, with the whole being sensitive and emotional, having a huge heart, is I always believe that you shouldn't give up on people you love. And I know, like, sometimes, and this is kind of what I'm learning now, is like sometimes you have to let them go. And that old saying, it's like, if you love something, let it go. If they come back, it's meant to be. And that's something that I usually believe in very strongly, but it's hard to put into work, it's hard to put into action. So I think that kind of hurts me a lot too.
Yeah, I think the trouble with all of that is that, whether it's family or a relationship or just friends, is that it's not necessarily, it's not your fault, and you're not giving up, but like some people, for whatever reason, whatever they're struggling with, or whatever they can't get over, or whatever they can't let go of, some people you just can't love, or they just can't love you, or they do love you, but there's other things that they struggle with that don't let them get past that. And letting go isn't necessarily giving up, because it would never get past that. And right. You can't blame yourself or see it as giving up and seeing yourself as a bad person when it's other people's issues or problems or things they can't get past.
Right.
And not every time, but more often than not, most people will just stay in that place.
Yeah. And I realized that, and I didn't want to stay in there anymore. I think after, the first few weeks that Kenneth and I were broken up, right before, or the week and a half Kenneth and I were broken up, I wanted to stay stuck there. I almost wanted to be the exact same person in case, we reconciled. I almost didn't want to be different. And that was weird. And of course, we talked for those 3 weeks and we broke up again, but we weren't even really together. I was still trying to change some of these negative things about myself, some of these flaws. But when we broke up that second time, I was like, no, I really have to keep going. I have to work on some of this because I don't want to be stuck. I don't want to be the same person. Even now, I was in a dark place. I was in a really dark place for weeks, even up to maybe a month ago, thinking all of these things and being angry and being mad and just stuck in a cycle, in a pit of just black negativity over a lot of things. I didn't want to be there anymore. I don't. And some of the things that I'm changing and that I'm working on changing is definitely like I said, letting things go more often. Giving myself even time to deal with it. That it's just me, not another person, and trying to work it out by doing other things. And that comes with also, being impatient and learning to be patient with another person. Learning to be patient with myself. I don't think I give myself patience. I think in a weird way, and maybe this is kind of strange, but I think I'm a little impatient with myself sometimes. I have a hard time letting myself just be and just feel. And so it can create some of that impatientness, why can't you just get this? Why can't you just move on, or just go forward, or just forget about it?
Right.
And
or why are you still feeling this?
Yeah. Why are you still going through this? Why are you still crying about this? You just cried about this last week.
Right.
Or why are you having the same feeling over and over again and again? Feeling almost impatient with myself. So I'm really learning to be patient with myself. I'm learning to be patient with other people. I'm learning that it takes time. No matter what I want to do, no matter what I want to come to me, or whatever, it takes time. It takes a lot of time and a lot of work. And the same with being emotional is I'm kind of impatient with myself when it comes to being emotional or being sensitive. Sometimes I feel kind of silly about it. But then, like you said, it's I need to let myself feel it. I need to let myself be emotional, because that's really never going to change, and I don't want it to. I don't want to become as cruel and as mean as some other people can be. Or
I think it's pretty clear just even in this conversation alone that that's who you are as a person.
Yeah.
You're not just sensitive or emotional in a relationship. It's who you are. Like you said, you can even watch a movie and feel that.
Yeah.
So being impatient with that, somehow wanting that to change, won't. First of all, it won't change. And second, it's not necessarily something that you should want to change.
Yeah.
And because maybe more so it's a feeling you don't want to feel. You're impatient in the sense that, why? Don't feel this. Stop feeling this. Don't, whatever the feeling is specifically. That's why you're impatient with yourself, because it's a specific feeling you don't like.
Yeah.
And I think that's how it is for a lot of people, if people are feeling lonely, so many times we're impulsive to just stop that feeling, whatever it is, or whether it's loneliness or sadness or whatever it is. They just need to not feel that. How do I not feel this? So I need a drink, I need a hook up, I need to talk to someone random for that moment, And then, you know, just for that feeling to be gone. And we're so quick, I think, as human beings, because we have that voice in our head, or that warning. It's like, oh, this, I don't want to feel this. This is bad. You know, what can I do to stop this right now? You know, or even that ego where it's like, you shouldn't feel this. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be lonely, or you shouldn't, you know, whatever it is. We're so quick to just want it to end that we do a lot of things that we shouldn't, or we become impatient with ourselves, you know, in the sense, like you said, where it's like, why are you feeling this?
Yeah.
As opposed to just letting ourselves feel it. You know, and I suggest that to anyone. Anytime anyone is feeling whatever feeling it is, the loneliness or the sadness or the anger, just waiting. You know, before you pick up your phone really quickly, or you reach for whatever, a drink or whatever it is, just wait a second and just feel it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. You know, for anyone who feels like that, is give it time. Wait a second. You know, it's not gonna last. No, it's not gonna last. It's not gonna last,
and this is who you are as a person, whether people like it or not. You know, you're a human being. You feel things. Feel them. You know, and then feeling them, you may understand them better. And when you understand them better, you know in some way how to control them or what they mean, so that next time you feel them, you still feel it.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away. In some way it'll still suck, but you know that, oh, that's where that's from. And you know where it's going to go, and you can, in that moment, you can live with it.
Yeah. I mean, you have a better grip on it.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
You have a better grip on it for next time. For next time you feel that, next time it happens.
Right.
So, I think it, obviously, these last two big ones, because some of this, like, I've been working on for a long time, and it'll be constant having to work on, but, you know, I think letting go, being able to let go of situations I can't control, or just letting them be. You know, one thing that, you know, I tell myself, you know, my therapist has told me, you know, over and over again, just let it play out. What's the worst chaotic thing that's ever happened if you can't control a situation? And it's like, well, it sucks for a while, or it sucks for a little bit. And then no, like, nothing bad happens from it. At least nothing bad directly to me happens from it.
Right.
You know. And the biggest thing overall is it's okay. You know, so me being able to let go of, you know, things I can't control, situations I can't control, you know, it still will take a lot of work, but I'm learning to do that.
Right.
You know, and I've been doing it, and giving people time, giving people space, or just letting it play out, just letting it happen, and realizing that, hey, you know, nothing bad is going to happen, or what's the worst thing that can happen in this situation? You know, usually it's okay. Usually it's not bad, and, you know, sometimes it has been, you know, a little more upsetting, or it has been kind of bad, but for the most part, you know, it's okay. It's okay to let things go. It's okay to let things be. It's okay to let things be today. Usually by tomorrow, they're better. Usually by tomorrow, it's like, okay, well, we can deal with this now. Or it's already been dealt with. It's okay.
Or it's done and there's nothing you can do about it.
Ah, that's scary.
And that's it. But, you know, in some way, that's it. You know what I mean? And there's, you have to let that go too. Where it's like, well, that didn't happen how I wanted it to, but I guess it wasn't going to anyway. And then just accepting that.
Exactly. So, and that's, I mean, those are my flaws, and those are the things that I'm working on to make these not be flaws anymore.
Right.
You know, and bettering myself. I felt like, you know, I guess in our first two podcasts, you know, I had kind of like dumped on Kenneth a lot for the things that he did, and of course, like, I could probably still go on and on about his problems in the relationship, or the things that he did and the bad things that he did in our relationship. But, you know, there was two people in this relationship. We both did bad things, and I'm definitely not going to argue who did the worst thing. I'm not going to get in that debate because, I would probably say him. But there were two people here, and there was wrong on both sides, and there are things that we did wrong, that we both did to hurt each other. I wouldn't say necessarily purposefully, because I never did anything to Kenneth to deliberately hurt him or make him feel bad. Just because, or I'd like to think, and I hope that he never did anything to purposefully hurt me. Like, this is going to hurt her, and this is going to make her feel bad, and I win. I don't think he ever did that. But, instead of continuing to dump on him and, talk about all his bullshit and all of his problems, here's mine. These are mine. This is what I know right now after a lot of thought and reflection and working through it with therapy, reading books, getting self-help stuff, online. This is what I find that I did bad, that I did wrong. And I don't want to carry any of this into my next relationship. And, I don't know. And maybe this is a good little segue into your thing. But, I am interested in someone now. And he knows that. And we've been talking and we've been getting closer and closer, just like every day. We've been talking and, I have a huge crush on him.
What?
Yes.
What?
Oh my God, is this the first you're hearing about it? Well, babe, no. But I don't want to carry any of this into that relationship or potential relationship. And, I've been really scared and I've been kind of terrified to jump into another relationship. And, we've been talking just about every day for like a month and a half now. And it's still scary. It still terrifies me because, I'm worried about all the shit that Kenneth did that another person's going to do to me. I'm worried about bringing my flaws into another relationship, and I don't want to. And that's why, like I said, I'm working through him and I'm talking about him today, because I don't want any of this shit to come between me and another person.
Right. I think to think you can go into a relationship perfect, that'll never happen. The stuff you're working on, you're going to continue to work on. But the fact that you're doing everything you can to help with that so that next time it comes up, it's not as big of a problem is a wonderful thing. Because in a relationship, no matter what or how hard you're working, there's going to be a problem. But then it's up to both of you to, do all the things you need to, patience and understanding and all that. But like I said, the fact that you're already working on it now to help with whatever is really big. And this whole conversation, it takes a lot of for a person to do, to sit and be honest about, hey, this is what's wrong with me. That's huge, because it's always, so easy to blame other people. Right. This is what's wrong with them. But to sit honestly and openly and be like, hey, I'm not perfect, and here's why, is pretty, it's awesome, but it's intense.
Right. What kind of sucks is, I really have, going through therapy and, working on all of this stuff and realizing it now, I have the potential to completely move on from my breakup. And to be completely happy again and to recover. And, I have the potential to find another relationship if I want to, if we choose to keep going. I have the potential to be happy again. And to find that person or that other person that we're going to be with for the rest of our lives. And bring them into, our little family thing or family unit. And when I was talking to my therapist about this, I was telling her how upset I was that, I know, I'm talking to someone, I really like him, there's potential there to have a relationship in the future. But I was so hurt by Kenneth, going back on Interpals and thinking about him talking to other people. And she said something kind of shocking. And kind of, it made me, kind of not scared of her, but I was just like, oh my God, how could you say that? But she looked at me and she was like, yeah, but Rachel, he's never going to be happy in a relationship. And I was so shocked by it. I just kind of looked at her and I was like, oh my God, I wasn't like getting to there. I was telling her that, I hope that Kenneth does find somebody. I hope that he is happy. I hope he finds like a good person to be with and they make each other the happiest people. And that was her reply. And she just said, it's like, he's never going to be happy in another relationship. No one is going to make him happy unless he heals and he deals with his problems. Otherwise, he'll never have that relationship. You're sitting here, you're doing the work, you're going to do it. You're going to find yourself happy again. And it made me, of course, like, still being in this breakup mode, it made me a little happy to know that Kenneth will never find that person that he can truly be happy with unless he deals with his stuff. But it also made me really sad that I don't think that Kenneth is dealing with it. I know that he was in therapy, but I think he stopped going. I know that he was really trying to improve himself and deal with this stuff, but I think he stopped after we broke up. Mm-hmm. Or, and during the time we were still communicating. So I don't think that he's dealing with it.
Right.
I don't think he's working on himself. And that made me kind of sad too.
Yeah, I mean, what she said, she was being honest and she was being, just, as she should be, this unbiased source. And I think what she said is true to be said for a lot of people in relationships or whatever. Like, it's just true to be said for a lot of people. You got to look at it as, if you haven't had any successful relationships, it's either, you got to look at the constant. So it's either you or the people you're choosing. And if it's the people you're choosing, then somehow it's you still. So it all comes back to you. So if you got things that these hang-ups that you can't work on, these things that you need to heal, and you can't do that, or you don't do that, or you haven't seen it, it's never going to change. Never.
Yeah.
And I knew that with, me going to therapy and dealing with my depression. First not realizing I had depression. And then once I was able to see life without that, I couldn't go back. And my therapist even told me, is like, I made such good progress, and most people don't, especially so quickly. Most people, they stay in that place, and in some weird way they become comfortable with that place, whatever it is, with that unhealthy place, and as long as you're there, things won't change, and relationships will be the same, and you will be unhappy.
Yeah, if you want all these things, if you want all these good things, and you've had, I wouldn't necessarily say traumatic childhood, but especially if you've had, abuse in your family, abuse on yourself, if you went through, really tragic things, like I know I have, I know Kenneth has, and I'm not going to talk about that because that's his own thing, but he's had a lot of loss in his life, and he's had a lot of abusive situations. You have to deal with it. You have to face it head on. You have to want to become a better person, and you have to change.
Right. But I don't think it's exclusive with abuse or trauma.
No,
because I haven't had that not directly like that, or like at least not to that degree.
No.
But there was still things I needed to work on.
Yeah.
And things I needed to fix.
And that's why I said especially if you, if you grew up in a relatively normal life, well, and I think that's kind of weird, and maybe this is like a weird subject to kind of bring up, but I think that people, and we were watching Dr. Drew's podcast, or Dr. Drew After Dark, and they were talking about stuff like this where, hey, I wasn't traumatized as a child, I have a very good childhood, but there's these weird things that I remember that bring back, like, PTSD.
Well, yeah,
So I think that, like, again, like, okay, so you may not have had abuse, your parents may have been married and still married, and, you have a really good life, but that doesn't mean that you still don't have things that affected you.
Yeah, and trauma doesn't, and I think it's a common misconception, but trauma doesn't mean, like something severe that happened. Trauma can mean, like, it can be something subtle, and it can be, something that didn't, just because it wasn't abuse doesn't mean it wasn't traumatic. And I don't think people understand that. I feel like no matter what, whatever it is, like, if you're having things, relationships, friendships, whatever, and they're not working or you're not happy, then you have to stop and ask why, and you have to fix that. There's something that needs to be healed, and that's the bottom line. Yeah. Whether it's an obvious thing or something you're not even sure about, there's something there that needs to be healed, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah, it's like you see flaws in you that are affecting the people around you, your personal relationships, romantic friendships, stuff with your family, coworkers, your job. You see these flaws, you see these things, and they're affecting your life. You need to work on them. You need to change them. Like, that's, bottom line. There's no way around it. Otherwise, you're gonna, be angry and pissed off and never have a, good relationship with another human being for as long as you live.
Yep.
And that's it. That's all it comes down to. So that's my end of it. Babe, what about you?
I guess what I want to discuss is along the same lines as I want to discuss relationships, but specifically me in a relationship or me now in this new life that we have, and what I want versus what I don't, or what I think, and that whole thing, and probably touching on some flaws and stuff like that as well. I guess we can talk about first is the beginning of this, when we decided to be polyamorous, and you almost directly getting into a relationship from there, and going through that, as it's weird to be married and be single, and to have the potential of being with someone, but also literally being married to someone is strange.
Right.
And also trying to get people to understand that is pretty strange as well.
I jokingly call it being half single. Because I'm not single, because we're married. But, Yeah. And then we also jokingly call it being forever alone together.
Forever alone together, because we're together, but we're single. So we're also alone.
Yeah.
And it's strange. I feel like I almost call it being sober. Once I was, I went through therapy and got better from my depression and learned how to understand my brain and how it works and certain things like that, to where I wasn't in a deep depression anymore and haven't been since. I feel it's sobering, and I haven't been in any type of relationship since then, since I've gotten out of that. And the first part of it was because I was consciously making the decision that I wanted to kind of be on my own a little bit, because this was the first time in possibly my whole life where I was like, hey, I like myself, and I like to be with myself.
Yeah.
And so in some way reconnecting with myself and enjoying my time, just on my own. So when you and Kenneth were together, you guys doing your own thing and me being able to do my thing and enjoying that. And some getting to know myself,
Yeah.
But
rediscovering yourself.
Yeah, but since then I've really felt like I've been open to having a relationship or wanting a relationship, but I feel like I've been my own mind has been misconstrued on what I think I want or wanted. And it kind of hit me recently where I was stopping and thinking, it's like, wait, if is what I'm looking for, I think, is the opposite of what I actually want. Meaning, I thought that, well, I don't want to necessarily meet someone because I don't know if I want to be in a long-term thing right now, because I like myself and I want to be with myself, but I really want someone. It was this whole like,
right.
And that thought just like made sense to me. It's like, yeah, without ever thinking like, hey, I think you're full of shit. Like, wait a minute, you know what I mean? Or like the thought is like, I really don't want to be in a relationship unless it's with that person. Then I'd be in a relationship with that person, but not being open to like, well, what if someone else came along and you liked them and you were attracted to them and you hit it off and it was going to be possibly a long-term thing, but you wouldn't want to be with them. I had to stop and think and be like, well, where is this going here? Where's my mind taking this? Because if I'm open for that one person, then in some way I should be for anyone in some way, if I'm attracted to them and if, I like them and it goes to that place, then why would that be a no, And so it was this whole stopping and kind of rearranging the thoughts to try and understand what I actually want. And knowing now that, okay, I am open to a relationship and I am open to whatever it is. And I don't want to say with anyone, but in that way, yes, like wherever it comes is wherever it comes from. And to like shut everything else out because I only want it from one place or whatever, it just seems so wrong. Like it was this weird double standard that I was allowing myself for I don't know why, and I feel like if I'm open to only one thing, then I'm closed, then I'm closed, and that in order for something like that to happen, for a relationship to happen, you have to be open completely. Yeah. And I think now I can say I am, and I'm willing to love again. Yeah. And that was always a worry when we decided to live like this, to be polyamorous, to have this relationship. I mean, I don't know if you did because you were almost directly into a relationship from there, but I kind of thought, I was like, well, can I love someone? Like, what I mean? Like, in that way again? Because I had been with you, we had been together for so long, almost 10 years at that point. So it's like, wait, I haven't loved someone in that sense in a very long time. Can I do that? Am I capable of loving someone like that again? The answer is yes. But at that moment, when you think about it, you don't know. And it's a weird thought. It's like, wait, can I flirt? Like, how do I do this?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, does that mean dates? And then what the hell is a date at this point? You know what I mean? And like almost not being sure about how that works anymore. Yeah. But then stopping and realizing it's like, if you're a human being, you're able to love someone, and if I love you, I can love. And it sounds so wrong, but it's like if I love my wife, I can love someone else just the same. I think
that's been, that's kind of been a theme for, for me. Yeah, and again, like I don't want people to look at me bad or look at me wrong, but I've loved you, and we have been monogamous up until. We've been together for almost 10 years, so we were together, 8 years before we started the whole, polyamorous?
Was it 8 or 9?
We were together a long time.
Yeah.
Strictly monogamous. We had a few things, I guess experimental that I told you about that, I was going to try or we were going to do this, but there's never cheating, or directly, manipulative, hiding stuff, cheating, ever. But I always, had people that, I still cared about or that I loved or I found attractive. So I had to kind of already been feeling this, for most of our relationship. And being able to kind of just bring that out and be honest about it. Yeah, for you, it was a learning process. For me, I had already been learning to love more than one person. So it kind of came naturally to me. And again, no, I never sought out dating someone.
Right. It just happened
it
all
just
around.
Happened.
Kind of at the same time.
Yeah. And even the person that I'm talking to now, you know, I had met him a year and a half before I met Kenneth. So we've actually, you know, me and this person have actually been friends for like 2 years, off and on, you know, communicating maybe once every 3 months, you know. So I've known him for like 2 years. You know, so I've known him for a while. I never sought him out, you know. And there's nothing wrong with going, you know, to look for someone. But that's been really important for me, is that I've never been looking.
Yeah.
It's always just came to me. You know, hey, I already know this person. I'm getting to know them more. We're connecting. We're learning more about each other. So no, I've never really like looked for anyone, but it came very naturally to me.
That was part of the problem with me, or that hasn't happened. Where like I can look at you, and when we started doing this, you already had someone.
Yeah.
And then you're out of it, and then now you still already have someone, and it's like, well, what about me? In the sense, it's like, well, I guess I have to look for it. At this point, there has been nothing like that, or at least nothing as obvious as yours, to where it's like, oh, here it is. You know, this is the thing. This is a relationship, or this can be, or blah blah blah. So, you know, and that I think adds to somewhat the doubt as far as like, well, can I even do this?
Right.
In the sense that, do I know how? I can say, you know, again, I can say now that I do, and that I can love someone, and that I do know how, and that I can speak with them and flirt with them and whatever, you know, all that stuff that comes with it. But then it comes the problem of at least to this point, not having that as just growing naturally or popping up like with you.
Yeah.
And you know, if it goes to looking in that case, what am I looking for? You know, and
what are you looking for?
Well, that's what I was talking about in the beginning of this. Is I thought it was one thing. I thought, you know, well, I don't know if I want something. You know, if it's, because a lot of this, if I'm looking for it, then there's gonna be, if it's not local, then it's online, and then someone more than likely far away.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, do I want something long distance? You know, or you know, I almost thought I knew everything I didn't want. You know, I didn't want long distance. I almost, in some way, thought like I didn't want long term, but I couldn't. I never thought why. I never questioned myself on that. I was just like, oh, I don't want that. And I think in some way, it was just me not allowing myself just to be emotionally available. Like, period.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not having a reason for any of that. But just believing it. Saying it and believing it. Be like, yeah, I don't want that. And never questioning it until this point where I was like, wait, why wouldn't you want something long term? That's the whole point. And like, wait, why, you know, if it's long distance, you know, you figure it out or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, having all these reasons as to know, but never questioning why not, you know, or being open to all of those things with one person, but not open to all of these things with anyone else, you know, and that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You know, but I never questioned it until now, where I can stop and ask myself, what does that mean? You know, and so like when I said what I was looking for was actually the opposite of what I wanted, because what I want is something, of course, that lasts, you know, is someone, of course, who loves me and that I'm attracted to and that I love, is far away or not, you know what I mean? I think at this point, just, I would prefer someone not far away, just as a personal preference, but that really wouldn't make or break my decision. Whereas before, it definitely would.
It might have.
You know? And so it was this weird thing where it's like I needed someone, because in some way I was starting to feel lonely. I was like, so I need someone to talk to, but I don't want to talk to them. But if they're far away, I don't want to talk to them for very long, or like that whole thing.
Yeah.
And just allowing myself to believe all this and never stopping and questioning it until now, and being like, and knowing exactly what I want, which is something long term, which is, if it's long distance, fine, and it was weird, like, that comes from, like I was saying, like, in some way I wasn't allowing myself to be available emotionally for some reason, and then stopping and thinking and realizing and then questioning yourself, which is important, like what you were doing with what you were talking about. You see the flaws, you stop and you think and you ask why, which so many times people don't do,
No, not many will.
Yeah, or never will.
Never.
And I'm stopping and asking myself, wait, why am I not finding something? Or why haven't I actually looked for something? Or why, whatever it is. And it's like, oh, I guess because despite what I realized, I wasn't actually open to any of it,
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it happened with certain things that happened within, like, when I was dealing with my depression and stuff like that. Like, there were certain people I were close to that were bad to be close to with, and then even after that, like, stuff like that. So I think that kind of, like, in my head, like, put up some barriers that I didn't realize.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think we had a little conversation about this on the road to our trip to Albuquerque. Where you're emotionally unavailable, but you also kind of like emotionally unavailable women.
Yeah. Yeah, which is horrible. No, I'm not even gonna get into that. But in some way, it always goes back to the mom, No. But in some way, like,
a little bit.
Yeah, why do I like people who don't like me, or why do I like people who aren't available in some way? And it could be for a million reasons. But then why when I see something or see someone that, like, why do I feel the need? Oh, I have to get them to like me. You know what I mean? Like, oh, let me do this. Are you happy now? Do you like me now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And why was that a thing? But as I was, like, looking into it and thinking about it, and literally, like, looking it up, like, emotional unavailability and what does that mean, reading it off, I was like, wait, this was kind of me too. And then, like, kind of having to stop and think about that and analyze that and try to understand what that means for me, which I guess leads to this point.
But yeah, I mean, even kind of in our relationship, but when I was talking about, my flaws and stuff, there are sometimes, even a little bit now, you've, again, come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
You can still be kind of emotionally, not unavailable, but just sometimes, like, you still don't quite understand it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't almost understand where my sensitivity comes from. And you've definitely had to learn a new way of coping with it. And not dealing with me or handling me, but being able to support me.
Yeah, well, what's so weird is that I'm a very sensitive person as well. I'm very empathetic. I feel everything and I understand everyone's feelings. But when it comes to something personal, I want to be able to just stop it easily. If it's a person, if it's a thing, just cut it off and be done with it. Like, I don't want to feel this. They make me feel this way. I'm done.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And just be so quick to burn a bridge or to just close that door.
And you and I have had, little conversations about this and
Mm-hmm.
of how you handled, because you haven't been in, like, a solid relationship like I have, but you have had people that I would say you've at least dated. I've had people
that I've been close to. I don't know what connotates dating or any of that.
Right. Well, you're not official, but you guys are in an exclusive relationship type. And I've noticed this a little bit, and we've talked a little bit about it, just where, I told you, with one of your last, dating relationships, where I thought that you were being a little unfair, by just closing off that, that person, burning that bridge, and then moving on. Not to say that you should have stayed if you weren't happy, because, you shouldn't. But I had told you, it's like, hey, you're being a little unfair to this person, and this is why you're being unfair.
Right.
And so.
Well, yeah, I mean, what those were, I mean, we were close, but it was never like a serious relationship in that sense. And, not, after my depression and becoming healthier in that sense, and then being with myself, and then now realizing, like, oh, I want something, but still having that mindset of, like, protection almost, or
protection of yourself.
Yeah, protection of myself, defensive,
defensive is a good word. Like, not wanting to let yourself get hurt, so you...
Not wanting to let myself get hurt, but wanting a relationship and something where I have to be able to in some way be hurt.
Right. In a weird way, you almost can't have both.
Like, not wanting, well, no, you can't. Like, not wanting to be vulnerable, but wanting to be in something that has to make me completely vulnerable. And so it was this weird, and it goes back to this, like, weird kind of double standard that I set, and that I was allowing myself to, like, feel, where, oh, I want this, but I don't want this. I want someone, but I don't want something long term. Or I want someone, but I don't want them far away. And it's like, well, oh, but this person I'll do any of that for. And just these weird double standards that I allowed myself to feel, because I probably in some way was avoiding that.
Avoiding getting hurt.
Because if I say no to everything, then I don't, it's weird. Like, if you set yourself up to say no to everything, then you don't have to say yes. Oh, but it's not my fault. She's far away. It's not my fault. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, I don't know if I want something long-term right now, so it's not my fault. You know what I mean? And it's just so weird that I was allowing myself to be there, and feel that, and cut things off quickly if I had to.
Yeah.
And until now, when I realize it, it's like, wow, everything I said I wanted, or everything I was working towards, like, putting myself in that place, is actually the exact opposite. Because I now know, it's like, no, I have to be vulnerable. I have to be open. And I have to, all of that, if it's long distance, it is. Like I said, personal preference, I wouldn't want that, but
long distance relationships are hard.
Yeah, they suck. But, like, that wouldn't be the deciding factor at this point, as it would have been.
Yeah.
And I was, in some way, I was emotionally unavailable, and in some way allowing myself to just sabotage myself in that sense. But doing it in such a way where I didn't have to blame myself for it.
Yeah.
Until I finally stopped and thought about it, and I was like, wait, this is wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in a weird way, there's kind of a resilience, and I found this, like you said, it's hard to put yourself out there. Mm-hmm. It's hard to be vulnerable and almost opening yourself up to get hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
When I look at myself, and I'm already healing and working towards healing to the point where I'm even considering the future of or even the possibility of having a future with another human so close to my breakup. But like I said, there kind of comes a resilience to being able to put yourself out there and, keep going in a sense. Me coming out of a year-long relationship and being so heartbroken in the beginning in such, a dark place, and then almost being excited to start over again with someone new, I mean, that makes me powerful in a good way.
Yeah.
And I think that, that's kind of something that you'll learn and that hopefully embrace, is getting to start over, getting to be excited about meeting someone new and being open with them and being vulnerable. And, if it doesn't work out, keep going.
Yeah.
When I'm ready to officially be in a relationship with a friend that I've been talking to, I hope it works out. But if it doesn't, I don't want that to hold me back. And
right.
I don't want that to be a defining factor.
Right.
You know? And I didn't want the breakup to be a defining factor either.
Right.
You know, like I said, you know, more recently I've been excited. I'm looking forward to my future. I'm looking forward to my future without Kenneth. But I'm looking forward to my future of meeting another person and being with somebody else. And like I said, that comes, you feel empowered. And it feels good. And not to say that it won't suck or that you won't have some shitty people come into your life and, you know, try to fuck up everything the good stuff that you've been doing, you know, but if you can filter that out, if you can keep going and if you can keep growing and putting yourself out there and being open, I really think that the payoff is good.
Right.
And the payoff is better than not.
Yeah. Than not doing it at all or continuing in this weird defensive, like, double standard, like, bullshit, essentially.
Right.
And it wasn't really until this conversation that I was excited for it, really.
Yeah.
And then now I can stop and think and know what I want. I can stand here and say at the end of it, I am open to a relationship, to being with someone and loving someone and all those things. And I'm excited for it. And
congratulations. That's a huge thing for you. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that was as big of a deal as, like I said, being excited again about the future.
Yeah.
And that was a huge breakthrough for me, so I'm really proud of you.
It is. And it was for you. And I don't know, I just think that so many times it's almost automatic that you think vulnerability is weakness. You know, or vulnerability means being hurt, and in some way it does, you know. But the bravest thing you can do and the strongest thing you can do is be vulnerable, is be open, is be honest with another person or other people, whatever it is, you know. And that's really the bravest thing you can do. And when you realize that, it is empowering and it is exciting. You're like, yeah, not to say that there won't be just shitty people, because there always is.
Right.
Especially if I venture on, like, online and stuff like that. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but the point being is that it is powerful to feel that you have in some way that it's up to you. Like, you literally have the power.
Yeah.
And, you know, but also that it's up to you. You're also unafraid, which is powerful. You know? That's very powerful.
Yeah, in a way, letting go of fear.
Yeah. Like, I am going to do this. I am going to be open. I am going to be vulnerable. And I may get hurt. But once you realize that, once you accept that, and once you I don't know, you almost carry it with you instead of as a burden, but as, like, a positive thing, then you have that power.
It's something you can learn from.
Mm-hmm.
Something, you can, take away. Something positive you can take away from all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's been a long time coming, and in some way I didn't even... And so I thought I was ready. I thought I knew what I wanted, and that I was open to that. But then I started realizing my thoughts and the pattern of them and being completely wrong. In some way, this confidence came with, going to therapy and realizing, depression and breaking through that and all. So I thought, like, well, now I know what I want, and now I know who I am. And then being wrong. You know what I mean? And not in a bad way, like, but stopping and realizing, like, there's still more to learn. And I'm doing it right now. And I'm changing it right now. And those things that I would have, if somehow a relationship would have happened, those things that I would have taken with me, I'm not going to take with me anymore. And now that I can actually have all of that, a relationship or whatever it is, because I'm actually open to it, whereas I wasn't before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For me, therapy has helped quite a bit. And every week I go, I'll go with, something that happened, a feeling that I had, and I'll, let my therapist interpret it for me, which is really kind of what she's there. She's kind of a facilitator to filter out all these weird things that I'm feeling.
Right.
And I'll come back and I'll come out with more progress made.
Yeah.
And like I said, talking to her about how hurt I was that, Kenneth is out there again. He went back to the place that we met. He's talking to other people, and her being able to tell me, it's like, well, that doesn't mean that he's happy. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that he's dealing with it, and almost in a way he's feeling a hole. It really helps me work through all of this and progress that much more. Right. And for my relationships, for my relationship with myself, for myself, not just other people. Yeah. But it'll benefit my relationships and everything. Becoming stronger. I feel myself becoming stronger just about every week. Every week that I'm able to let go of something, open myself to something else, and opening myself up to possibility, it makes me stronger. Yeah. And I think that's, a big thing for me, when I'm talking to, this friend and, I'm getting closer to him, as scary as it is, I don't want to be afraid of it. Yeah. I don't want to be afraid of the possibility, of getting hurt again, because that's just going to make me close it off. That's just going to make me not want to put myself out there. Right. And I'm not that kind of person. Right. I love taking chances and, the good chances. Right. Of the future. Right. Yeah. No more being impulsive, though.
Right. And I think that was me. When it got to that point where I was like, ooh, this could be something, or whatever, it was a fear. Like, oh, no, can't do that. Don't want that for whatever reason. And now knowing that and being like, no, I don't. I actually do want that. And not ignoring the fear or running away from it or, whatever, hiding from it, feeling it, and then still going into it. It's going to be interesting.
It's definitely going to be an interesting journey for you.
And I feel like no matter what, like a week from now, a day from now, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, if I'm still haven't been in a relationship, and at this point, not because of my own bullshit, if it just hasn't happened, or hasn't happened like it's happened for you so naturally, that's okay. Because that was never the point of this for me, and I don't think for either of us. No. Being polyamorous was never the point was never, oh, now we can just be with other people. That was never the point. The point was always the potential of having that and loving other people or being in a relationship or not. And that was it. It was the openness and the freedom for that. And so at the end of this, if I never am, then I never am. But I never want it to be because of myself.
Yeah, I get that.
So I guess that's it.
Yeah, I think so. You brought up a really interesting topic. Kind of.
Well, we both did.
We both did, but not that I didn't know this about you, but hearing you talk about it again so openly is amazing.
Yeah. In some way, I saved it for this.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, you're keeping things from me now?
A little.
No, I think to a degree we're both like waiting to talk about it here, because this is also kind of like conversations that we used to have, just without a microphone.
They're just now being recorded. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I definitely understand that, but I think you're in a good place, and I think we're both
working on it.
We're both growing, and we're moving forward. Yeah. And you may not be dealing with the same things that I am, or you're not going through a breakup. Right. But there is some similarities in here.
Definite similarities. We're both looking at our flaws, and we're both working on them.
We're both looking inside ourselves. Yeah. To fix things.
Flaws or not.
Yeah, to fix things that maybe we even thought weren't fixable.
Weren't fixable or didn't exist or didn't need fixing. Yeah. but we're doing that. We're being reflective, and in some way we're doing the same thing. And thank you.
Yeah. Again, we're forever alone together.
Yeah. Thank you. And to anyone else out there who's feeling these things or going through these things, I hope this made sense, and I hope this helped. At the very least, I hope it was entertaining.
Yeah, listening to us complain and talk about ourselves.
Yeah.
Maybe someone, I don't know, got something out of it.
Maybe.
Laughed a little bit.
At the very least, I hope it was entertaining. And thank you for allowing us to have this outlet.
Right. Well, I'd especially like to thank, our friends. A lot of this is stuff we haven't told our close friends. And I'm thinking like, our core group of friends don't know any of this, didn't know we were polyamorous. And we've heard nothing but good things from our friends and from the people that care about us. And to me, I'm so grateful for you guys. I'm so grateful that there's been no judgmental comments. You guys all say it's like, hey, guys, that was great. I can't wait to hear more.
Yeah.
And I love it.
I love it too. And so thank you to, of course, our core group of friends. And thank you to anyone else who's just out there listening. Thank you very much. We love you very much. Please take care of yourself. Please take care of each other. And we'll see you next time.
Later.